Late evening at my house during my son Brandon's birthday party. I lay in my bedroom with the lights off. Through the crack under the door, I could see shadows moving in the hallway. Then I heard her voice. Amanda, my daughter-in-law, speaking to Brandon in a whisper she thought was quiet enough. Just let him sleep on the couch tomorrow. He won't even remember we moved him. The old man's practically senile anyway. Brandon laughed nervously. He actually laughed. I stayed perfectly still in the darkness. My jaw clenched so tight my teeth hurt. They had no idea I heard every single word. I'm a retired Army sergeant. I built this house with my own hands back in '92. And tomorrow morning, they were going to learn exactly how sharp my mind really is. My eyes opened at 5 in the morning. 30 years in the military will do that to you. Your body becomes a clock that never needs winding. I sat up in the guest bedroom, the room I'd been sleeping in for the past 3 months, and let the anger from last night settle into something colder, something more useful. I walked downstairs in my bare feet, moving quietly through the house I'd built board by board. The kitchen still smelled like birthday cake from the party. Empty beer bottles lined the counter. I started the coffee maker, the old one Martha and I got as a wedding gift 42 years ago. The burbling sound filled the silent house. While the coffee brewed, I noticed things. Small things I'd been too tired or too trusting to see before. The family photos on the mantel had been rearranged. The picture of Martha and me on our 30th anniversary was now facing backward. My reading chair, the leather recliner I'd saved 6 months to buy, had been moved from its spot by the window to a dark corner. On the kitchen counter, my pill organizer sat open, the compartments mixed up. I'd organized them myself yesterday. Someone had gone through them. I poured my coffee and walked slowly through the first floor. In the living room, I found a stack of magazines. Home design magazines. Real estate magazines. One was open to a page about selling inherited property. Little sticky notes marked certain pages. In Amanda's handwriting, ask about tax implications and quick sale options. My chest tightened. I climbed the stairs, moving past the guest bedroom where I'd been sleeping, toward the master bedroom, my bedroom, the room I'd shared with Martha for 38 years until cancer took her 2 years ago. I stood outside the closed door and listened. I could hear snoring, Brandon's snoring, the same sound I'd heard through walls when he was a teenager. I opened the door slowly. There they were. Brandon and Amanda sprawled across the king-sized bed Martha and I had picked out together in 2003. Amanda's clothes were scattered across Martha's hope chest. Brandon's shoes were kicked onto my side of the bed. They'd completely taken over. I closed the door quietly and went back downstairs. I sat at the kitchen table with my coffee and let myself remember how this started. 3 months ago, Brandon called me crying. He said he'd lost his job. His voice cracked like it used to when he was 7 years old and fell off his bike. He said they were behind on rent. Could they stay with me? Just for a month or two, just until he found something new. I'd said yes before he finished asking. I was lonely. The house felt too big without Martha. I thought having family here would help. Amanda had seemed sweet at first. She called me Dad. She made dinner some nights. She laughed at my old Army stories. But slowly, things changed. She started rearranging things without asking. She threw away Martha's gardening magazines, calling them clutter. She told me the house needed updating, needed modernizing. She changed the Wi-Fi password and told me I didn't need to worry about technical things. 2 weeks ago, I'd been looking for Martha's quilts, the ones her grandmother made. I wanted to air them out. Amanda said she'd donated them to Goodwill. She didn't ask. She just decided they were old and got rid of them. When I got upset, she patted my hand and said, "It's okay, Dad. Sometimes letting go is hard. It's part of getting older." I wasn't getting older in my mind. I was just grieving. There's a difference. Now, sitting in my kitchen at 5:30 in the morning, I pulled out my cell phone. I scrolled to a name I hadn't called in 6 months. Tommy Patterson. Colonel Tommy Patterson. Retired. We'd served 2 tours together. Saved each other's lives more than once. He answered on the second ring. "Steve, you okay?" "It's 05:30. "I know what time it is," I said quietly. "Tommy, I might need the unit. I'll let you know." There was a pause. Tommy knew me well enough to hear what I wasn't saying. "What's going on?" Can't talk now. I'll call you later. Just wanted you on standby. Roger that. We're here when you need us. I hung up and stared at my coffee. Part of me hoped I was overreacting. Part of me hoped this was all a misunderstanding. Then I heard footsteps on the stairs. Amanda appeared in the kitchen doorway, wearing one of Martha's old robes. She'd taken that too. "You're up early," she said, not quite looking at me. She went straight to the coffee maker and poured herself a cup in Martha's favorite mug. "Always been an early riser," I said. She sat down across from me and smiled. It didn't reach her eyes. "We need to talk about something, Dad." I waited. "Brandon and I have been talking. We think it might be time to consider some changes. You're getting older. This house is a lot to maintain. We're worried about you." "I'm 68, I said. "Not 90. I know. But you've been forgetting things. Little things. We just want to help." "What things?" She waved her hand vaguely. "Oh, where you put things. Appointments. We just think maybe having us here permanently could be good for everyone. We could help take care of the house. Take care of you." The words sounded rehearsed. I looked at her carefully. She was 29 years old. Blonde hair, thin face, eyes that moved constantly, never settling on one place too long. I'd thought she was nervous when I first met her. Now I recognized it as something else. Calculation. "I appreciate your concern," I said slowly, "but I'm doing fine." She laughed, a short sound without humor. "Are you, though? Brandon told me you couldn't remember your own doctor's appointment last week." "I didn't have a doctor's appointment last week." "See? That's what I mean. You don't even remember having it." I stood up. My hands were shaking, so I put them in my pockets. "I think we should all sit down and talk. The three of us. This afternoon." "Sure, Dad. Whatever you need." She sipped Martha's coffee from Martha's mug in Martha's robe, sitting in my kitchen, and smiled at me like I was a child who needed managing. I went out to the garage. My workshop was still there, though someone had moved things around here too. My toolbox was open. Some tools were missing. I found my old military footlocker in the back corner, covered with a tarp. I pulled it out and opened it. Inside were my medals, my discharge papers, photos of my unit, and underneath everything, a folder with important documents. My deed to the house, my will, bank statements. I pulled out the bank statements and froze. The most recent one showed transfers I didn't make. 2,000 here, 3,000 there. Small enough not to be obvious, large enough to add up. I counted quickly. Almost $20,000, moved from my savings to my checking, then withdrawn as cash. That's when I heard Amanda's voice from the house. She was on her phone, talking to someone. I moved to the garage door and listened. "No, Mom, it's fine," the lawyer said with the documentation. "We can get power of attorney within 60 days. Then we can sell it and move to Arizona like we planned. Brandon's dad won't even know what's happening. He's pretty far gone already." My blood went cold. This wasn't just about disrespect. This wasn't just about them being rude or taking advantage of my hospitality. This was a plan, a calculated plan to take everything Martha and I had built, to declare me incompetent and steal my life. I stood in my garage, holding my bank statements, and realized I was in more danger than I'd thought. This wasn't a family problem anymore. This was a fight for my home, my freedom, my dignity, everything. I walked back into the house. Amanda was off the phone, making breakfast. She smiled at me like nothing had happened, like she hadn't just talked about erasing my life. I smiled back. "Two can play at pretending, Amanda," I said calmly. "I'd like to have that family meeting now. Please wake up Brandon." She looked surprised, but nodded. "Sure, Dad. Let me get him." I sat at the kitchen table and waited. The game had changed. I just had to make sure I was playing it smarter than they were. 20 minutes later, we were all sitting at my kitchen table. Brandon looked half asleep, his hair sticking up in the back like it used to when he was 12. He'd always been a heavy sleeper. Amanda sat straight-backed, her hands folded in front of her like a teacher about to give a lecture. I put the bank statements on the table between us. "I want to talk about these," I said. Brandon glanced at them and looked away. Amanda's jaw tightened. "What about them?" she asked. $20,000 has been moved from my savings account over the past 2 months. I didn't authorize those transfers. Dad, Brandon started, his voice weak. We talked about this. No, we didn't. Amanda leaned forward. You did. You said we could borrow some money while Brandon was job hunting. You said family helps family. I never said that. She laughed. It was a sharp sound. This is exactly what I'm talking about. You don't remember. You're forgetting conversations. Important things. I pulled out another paper from my pocket. A folder I'd found in the study. Amanda's folder. The one labeled Dad. Health concerns. Inside were pages of handwritten notes. Dates and times and descriptions of behavior I'd supposedly exhibited. Forgot to eat breakfast. Couldn't find his keys. Wandered outside in the middle of the night. All lies. Every single one. I found this in the filing cabinet, I said. Care to explain? Amanda didn't even blink. I've been keeping track because I'm worried about you. Any good caregiver would document concerning behavior. I don't need a caregiver. I need you both to leave my house. The words hung in the air like smoke. Brandon's face went pale. Amanda's expression hardened. Excuse me? She said softly. I want you out. I'm giving you 48 hours. That's more than fair. Brandon finally spoke up, his voice shaking. Dad, you can't be serious. We're family. Family doesn't steal. Family doesn't forge documents and plot to have their father declared incompetent so they can steal his house. Amanda stood up so fast her chair scraped across the floor. That's paranoid talk. Do you hear yourself? You're proving my point. You're not well. I heard you last night, I said quietly. In the hallway. You said I was senile. You said to let me sleep on the couch. You talked about me like I was already gone. Her face flushed red. You're taking things out of context. I was joking. Brandon, tell him I was joking. Brandon looked at the floor. He didn't say anything. And this morning, I continued, I heard you on the phone with your mother, talking about selling my house, about how I wouldn't know what was happening. For just a second, fear flashed across Amanda's face. Then it was gone, replaced by anger. You were eavesdropping? Listening to private conversations? That's not normal behavior, Steve. That's paranoia. It's my house. You were talking in my garage. This is exactly what the doctor needs to hear, she said, turning to Brandon. Call Dr. Harrison. Tell him we need an emergency appointment. Your father is having delusions. I'm not calling anyone, Brandon muttered. Brandon, Amanda snapped. I said no. Brandon stood up, his face red. For a moment, he looked like he might actually stand up to her. Then he deflated. I mean, maybe we should just calm down. Talk about this. There's nothing to talk about, I said. You have until Friday at noon. Pack your things and go. Amanda's expression changed. The anger melted into something colder, more dangerous. She pulled out her phone. Fine. If that's how you want to play this. She dialed. Put it on speaker. Hello, police. I need to report a situation. My father-in-law is threatening us. Yes, threatening. He's elderly, and I think he's having a mental health crisis. We're afraid for our safety. I stared at her. She stared back. The phone pressed to her ear, her eyes challenging me. The police arrived 30 minutes later. 2 officers. One was older, maybe 50, with gray hair and tired eyes. The other was younger, eager, taking notes on everything. Amanda met them at the door, tears already streaming down her face. Real tears. I didn't know she could do that on command. Thank you for coming, she sobbed. I didn't know what else to do. He's not himself. He's been getting worse for months. The older officer, whose name tag read Martinez, looked at me. Sir, can you tell me what's going on here? I asked them to leave my house, I said calmly. This is my house. I own it. It's paid off. They've been staying here temporarily, and now I'm asking them to leave. He's threatening us, Amanda cut in. He said he'd make us leave one way or another. He's been acting erratically, not sleeping, wandering around at night. I'm scared of what he might do. Officer Martinez looked between us. Has anyone been physically threatened? He hasn't hit us, if that's what you mean, Amanda said carefully. But the threats are real, And look at this. She pulled out her folder, the one I'd just shown them at the table. I've been documenting his decline, memory loss, confusion, paranoid delusions. Today, he accused us of trying to steal his house. The younger officer took the folder and flipped through it. These are pretty detailed notes, ma'am. I'm a nurse, Amanda lied smoothly. She was a dental receptionist. I know what to look for. Officer Martinez turned to me. Sir, do you have any medical conditions we should know about? I'm healthy. I see my doctor regularly. I take blood pressure medication. That's it. He says that, but he forgets his pills all the time, Amanda said. We have to remind him. That's not true. See? He doesn't even remember us helping him. She wiped her eyes. Officer, I love my father-in-law. He's been so good to us, but I think he needs professional help. I'm worried he's a danger to himself. Martinez looked at me with something like pity. Sir, maybe it would be best if everyone took a step back. Family Services has resources for situations like this. Counseling, support groups. I don't need counseling, I said. I need them out of my house. Unfortunately, sir, if they've been living here for more than 30 days, they're considered tenants under state law. You'd need to go through a formal eviction process. Amanda's expression shifted. Just for a second, I saw the triumph in her eyes. How long does an eviction take? I asked. Depends. Usually 60 to 90 days. Sometimes longer if it's contested. Martinez took a report, asked more questions, made more notes. By the time they left, there was an official police report stating that I'd made threats and that my family was concerned about my mental state. After the door closed, Amanda turned to me with a smile that made my stomach turn. Now there's a police report saying you're violent and unstable, she said sweetly. Try to kick us out now, and we'll get a restraining order against you. You'll be the one who has to leave. This is our house now, old man. Get used to it. Brandon stood behind her, saying nothing, looking at the floor like he'd been doing all morning. I went to my room. The guest room. Not my room anymore. I sat on the edge of the bed and realized I'd just made everything worse. My attempt to take control had backfired completely. Now there was official documentation of me being unstable. Now they had more ammunition. I'd been outmaneuvered, but the fight wasn't over. Not even close. I woke up Thursday morning to find the master bedroom door had a new lock on it. A keyed lock. On the inside of my own house. I stood in the hallway staring at it, trying to process what I was seeing. I checked my wallet. My checkbook was missing. I went downstairs. Amanda was already up, making coffee. She smiled at me like we were friends. Morning, Dad. Sleep okay? Where's my checkbook? Oh, I put it somewhere safe. You kept losing it, remember? This way you don't have to worry about it. Give it back. Let's talk about this after you've had some coffee. You're always grumpy before coffee. I heard footsteps behind me. Brandon came down, looking like he hadn't slept. His eyes were red. He couldn't look at me. Brandon, I said, we need to talk. Alone. Dad, I don't think that's a good idea right now. Please. He glanced at Amanda, who gave a tiny nod. We went out to the back porch. The morning was cold. October in Colorado always is. I could see my breath. What happened to you? I asked. Brandon's hands shook as he lit a cigarette. When did he start smoking again? Dad, I'm sorry. I know this looks bad. Looks bad? Brandon, she's stealing from me. She's trying to have me declared incompetent. And you're helping her. I'm not helping her. I don't know what to do. You stand up to her. You tell her this stops now. He laughed, a bitter sound. You don't understand. Amanda, he trailed off. Took a long drag. She keeps track of everything, Dad. Every penny I spend. Every person I talk to. If I don't do what she says, she makes my life hell. I can't leave her. Yes, you can. She'll take everything. She'll ruin me. She said she'd tell everyone I abused her. File a police report. I'd lose my job, my reputation, everything. I looked at my son, really looked at him. He'd lost weight. His shoulders curved inward like he was trying to make himself smaller. This wasn't the confident boy I'd raised. This was someone broken. Brandon, listen to me. This isn't love. This is control. And it's only going to get worse. Maybe. But Dad, you need to understand something. Amanda's not going to stop. She's already set everything in motion. The doctor appointment tomorrow, the guardianship petition, all of it. Even if I wanted to stop her, I couldn't. What doctor appointment? He looked surprised. She didn't tell you? She scheduled a wellness check for you tomorrow morning at 9. Dr. Harrison. She sent him her notes ahead of time. About your memory issues. I don't have memory issues. I know, Dad. But she's really convincing. She's got documentation. Witness statements from the neighbors. The police report from yesterday. She's been building this case for 2 months. My chest felt tight. What happens at this appointment? She's going to ask him to recommend a full neurological evaluation at the hospital. If he agrees and you refuse, it makes you look worse. If you go and they find anything, even normal age-related stuff, she'll use it to push for guardianship. And if the evaluation shows I'm fine, Brandon's eyes filled with tears. Dad, I don't think that matters anymore. She's got a lawyer. The guardianship hearing is set for Monday morning. Even if you fight it, it'll take time. Legal fees, stress, and the longer it goes on, the worse you look to the court. So I'm trapped. Yeah, I think so. I'm sorry. He stubbed out his cigarette and went back inside. I stood on the porch, watching the sun come up over the mountains in the distance. Martha and I used to watch sunrises together. She'd make her terrible coffee, and we'd sit out here and plan our day. Now I was standing here alone, being told my life was over. But I wasn't done yet. I walked to the garage and found my old flip phone in the toolbox. A burner phone I'd kept for emergencies. I walked 2 blocks to the convenience store and used their payphone to call my bank. First National Bank. How may I help you? This is Steve Morrison. I need to check my accounts. After I verified my identity, the representative pulled up my information. Mr. Morrison, I see here that there's a joint account holder on your checking account. Amanda Morrison. She was added in August. I never added her. I'm looking at the paperwork now, sir. It has your signature. It's forged. There was a pause. Sir, if you're alleging fraud, you'll need to file a police report and an investigation will be opened. This can take several weeks. I don't have several weeks. I understand your concern, but I can't make changes without going through proper channels. I hung up, walked back home. Amanda was waiting in the living room. Where were you? She asked. Not concerned. Suspicious. Went for a walk. You shouldn't wander off without telling someone. I'm 68, not 8. She smiled. Of course. But still, we worry. That afternoon, the police came back. The same older officer, Martinez. He looked uncomfortable. Mr. Morrison, I need to talk to you about a report that was filed. What report? Your daughter-in-law called us. She says some items are missing from the house. Jewelry. Cash. She's concerned you might have misplaced them during a confused episode. I stared at him. I didn't take anything. I'm not accusing you of anything, sir. But she wanted it documented. Just in case. Another report. Another piece of paper showing I was unstable. After he left, I tried calling a lawyer. The one who'd handled Martha's will. A recording said he'd retired. I called another one. The consultation fee was $500. The next available appointment was 2 weeks away. I sat in my kitchen, surrounded by the walls I'd built, the floors I'd laid, and realized I was losing. Every move I made, Amanda countered. She was 10 steps ahead. She'd been planning this for months, while I'd been blind to it. That evening, Amanda cooked dinner. Pot roast with potatoes. Martha's recipe. She served me a small plate, then cut my meat into pieces like I was a child. There you go, Dad. Nice and easy to eat. Brandon watched from across the table, misery written all over his face. After dinner, Amanda showed me brochures. Full-color pamphlets for senior living communities, memory care facilities, places with locked doors and supervised activities. I've been researching, she said brightly. This one is really nice. Beautiful grounds. 24-hour care. It's only $8,000 a month. $8,000 a month. $96,000 a year. My savings would be gone in 3 years. Then they'd sell the house to cover more costs. Everything Martha and I had built would be gone. Feeding their plan. I'm not going anywhere, I said quietly. We'll see what the doctor says tomorrow, Amanda replied. Now, I think it's time for bed. You need your rest for the appointment. I went to my room. The guest room. I waited until the house was quiet. Then I snuck out. It was midnight. I walked 4 blocks to the 24-hour gas station. Used the payphone there. Tommy answered, alert despite the hour. Steve, I need the unit, Tommy. Tomorrow morning. 0900 hours. Is this code red? The words from our army days. Code red meant immediate danger. Life or death. Affirmative. This is code red. We'll be there. Full unit. Dress uniforms. Thank you. I hung up and started walking back to my house. The street was empty. The only sound was my footsteps on the pavement. I thought about Martha, what she'd say if she could see what was happening. She'd probably be disappointed in me for letting it get this far, for being too trusting. I was half a block from home when I saw headlights. A police cruiser pulled up beside me. Martinez again. Mr. Morrison, what are you doing out at this hour? Before I could answer, another car pulled up. Amanda jumped out, wearing her bathrobe. She ran to Martinez. Thank God you found him, she sobbed. I woke up and he was gone. I was so worried. He's never done this before. Wandering at night, I mean. I went for a walk, I said. At midnight. Martinez looked at me with that same pitying expression. Sir, that's not safe. I'm a grown man. He's confused, Amanda said. This is getting worse. Officer, I think he needs help. Professional help. I'm scared he's going to hurt himself. Martinez called for backup. Another unit arrived. Then an ambulance. Amanda talked to the paramedics, showing them her folder of notes, explaining my symptoms. They listened. They nodded. They looked at me like I was a problem to be solved. Sir, we'd like to take you to the hospital, one of them said gently. Just for an evaluation, to make sure you're okay. I'm fine. I want to go home. He doesn't understand, Amanda said. This is part of his condition. Please, can you help him? They could, and they did. Not by force, but by pressure, by concern, by the weight of all those reports and notes and documented incidents, by making me seem like I was the unreasonable one for refusing help. I sat in the back of the ambulance, watching my house disappear. Amanda stood in the driveway, waving, smiling. She'd won again. And tomorrow morning, when Tommy and the unit showed up, I wouldn't even be there, unless the hospital let me go in time, unless I could get out, unless I still had one move left to play. The psychiatric emergency room was bright and cold. Fluorescent lights buzzed overhead. I sat on a paper-covered examination table while a young doctor asked me questions. What day was it? Who was the president? Could I count backward from 100 by sevens? I answered everything correctly. Every single question. The doctor made notes on her tablet. Mr. Morrison, you're doing very well on the cognitive screening, but I have to tell you, your daughter-in-law has provided quite a bit of documentation about concerning behaviors. It's all lies. I understand you feel that way. But from a medical perspective, I need to take her concerns seriously. She's documented multiple incidents. Memory lapses, confusion, night wandering. The police have been called twice in 2 days. Because she called them. She's setting me up. The doctor's expression was kind but skeptical. The same look everyone kept giving me. I'm going to recommend a full evaluation. We can schedule it for early next week. In the meantime, I think it's safe for you to go home. But I'd like you to follow up with your regular doctor. Dr. Harrison, correct? I have an appointment with him tomorrow at 9, I said bitterly. My daughter-in-law scheduled it. That's good. He knows your history. He can assess whether further testing is needed. They released me at 8 in the morning, Saturday morning. I'd spent the entire night in the ER. I used the hospital phone to call an Uber. The driver was a college kid who didn't ask questions. He dropped me off at my house at 8:50. The house was quiet. Amanda's car was in the driveway. Brandon's truck too. They were still asleep, probably. Probably thought I'd be stuck in the hospital longer. I let myself in quietly and went straight to my room. The guest room. I sat on the edge of the bed and checked my watch. 8:55. If Tommy was coming, he'd be here in 5 minutes. If he wasn't, I was out of options. I heard a sound outside. The low rumble of engines. Multiple engines. I went to the window and looked out at the street. 5 military vehicles. Humvees. Moving in formation down my quiet suburban street. Neighbors were already coming out of their houses, staring. The vehicles pulled up in front of my house, parked in a precise line. 12 men in dress uniforms got out. Their movements were synchronized, military, impressive. Tommy Patterson led them. He was 70 years old, but stood straight as a flagpole, his uniform crisp, his medals gleaming in the morning sunday. Behind him was Marcus Chen. I caught myself. Marcus wasn't Chinese-American, despite what his last name suggested. His grandfather had taken the name when he immigrated. But I needed to be careful. I shook my head. No. Wait. His name wasn't Chen. His name was Marcus Cooper. Yes, Cooper, the unit lawyer, JAG officer, sharp as a blade. Next to Marcus was Raymond Grant, military police, built like a tank. The others fanned out behind them. All from our unit, all retired, all here. I went downstairs and opened the front door. Tommy nodded at me once. Sergeant Morrison. Colonel Patterson, I replied. Inside, I heard movement. Footsteps. Amanda appeared at the top of the stairs in her bathrobe. When she saw the uniforms through the window, her face went white. What's going on? She asked, her voice thin. Brandon stumbled out behind her, rubbing his eyes. When he saw the men outside, he froze. Tommy didn't wait for an invitation. I'd already opened the door wide. He marched in, the others following information. They filled my living room, 12 decorated veterans in full dress uniform. The presence was overwhelming, intentional. Ma'am, Tommy said, his voice carrying the command of 30 years in the military. I'm Colonel Thomas Patterson, retired. This is Sergeant Steve Morrison's unit. We're here on official business. Amanda clutched her bathrobe tighter. What business? He's not in the military anymore. Once a soldier, always a soldier, ma'am. When one of ours calls code red, we respond. Marcus Cooper stepped forward. He carried a leather briefcase. He set it on my coffee table and opened it. I'm Marcus Cooper, retired Judge Advocate General's Corps. I've been reviewing Sergeant Morrison's situation. There are several legal issues we need to address. He pulled out papers, spread them on the table. Bank statements, property records, police reports. He'd gathered more in 24 hours than I'd been able to find in weeks. Mrs. Morrison, Marcus said, his voice precise and cold. These documents show unauthorized transfers from Sergeant Morrison's accounts totaling $23,400. Transfers that coincide with your access to his financial information. Amanda's face flushed. That was borrowed money. He agreed to it. Did he sign authorization forms for these transfers? It was verbal. Marcus pulled out another paper. This is a copy of the account addition form, the one that added your name as a joint holder. I had a handwriting expert examine it. The signature doesn't match Sergeant Morrison's signature on file with the bank. It's a forgery. That's not true. We can subpoena the original documents if necessary. Federal banking laws take forgery very seriously. Raymond Grant spoke up, his voice like gravel. Ma'am, I've reviewed the police reports from the past 48 hours. Your statements contain multiple inconsistencies. You claimed Sergeant Morrison threatened violence, but the officers noted no signs of aggression. You claimed he was wandering confused at night, but the officer's report states he was coherent and oriented during the encounter. He's old. He's sick. Tommy stepped forward. Mrs. Morrison, I've known Steve Morrison for 45 years. I've seen him under fire. I've seen him lead men through hell. I've never seen him confused or incompetent. What I'm seeing now is a decorated veteran being systematically undermined and exploited in his own home. Amanda looked at Brandon. Say something. Tell them they're wrong. Brandon stood frozen. His mouth opened, closed. No words came out. Marcus continued. We also found some interesting searches on the home computer. Searches for emergency guardianship procedures, how to declare someone incompetent, and, most concerning, accidental deaths in elderly people. The room went silent. Even Tommy looked shocked. Amanda's face went from white to red. I was researching because I was worried about him. That's all. Combined with this, Marcus pulled out another document. It paints a concerning picture. He held up a paper. I couldn't see what it was from where I stood, but Amanda could. Her eyes went wide. "What is that?" I asked. Marcus turned to me. "It's a life insurance policy. $500,000, with you as the insured. Amanda Morrison as the beneficiary. Taken out 6 months ago." My blood went cold. "I never signed that." "I know. The signature is forged, just like the bank documents." Tommy pulled out his phone. "I'm calling the actual police now. The real police." "Wait," Amanda said. Her voice cracked. "Wait. This is all a misunderstanding. Ma'am, you forged documents. You stole money. You attempted to fraudulently obtain a life insurance policy on another person. These are felonies." Brandon finally spoke, his voice shaking. "I didn't know about the insurance policy." Amanda spun on him. "Shut up, Brandon. I swear, Dad. I didn't know about that." I said shut up, but it was too late. Tommy was already on the phone with 911. Real police were coming. Not Martinez with his skeptical looks. A detective. An investigation. Amanda's face crumbled. She looked at Brandon with desperation. Tell them, you were part of this too. If I'm going down, you're coming with me." Brandon went even paler. He looked at me, at the men in uniform, at Amanda. "I'm sorry, Dad. I'm so sorry. I knew about the money. I knew she was planning to get power of attorney. But I swear, I didn't know about the insurance policy. I didn't know she was planning. I didn't know." "Didn't know what?" I asked quietly. He didn't answer. He didn't have to. Police sirens sounded in the distance. Getting closer, Amanda made a run for the door. Raymond Grant stepped in front of it, blocking her way. He was 6'4" and solid muscle. She bounced off him like she'd hit a wall. "Ma'am, I'd advise you to stay put." 2 police cars pulled up. A detective got out. A woman in her 40s with sharp eyes. She listened to Marcus explain the situation, looked at the documents, asked Amanda questions. Amanda tried to cry, tried to explain, but the evidence was too clear, too documented, too damning. They arrested her right there in my living room, put handcuffs on her while she screamed about how this was all a mistake, all a misunderstanding, how I was the one who was confused. The detective looked at me. "Mr. Morrison, I apologize. We should have investigated more thoroughly the first time." "It's okay," I said. I felt numb. They took Amanda away. Brandon stood in the corner, crying. The detective told him not to leave town. He was under investigation too, though they weren't arresting him yet. After the police left, the house fell quiet. 12 soldiers stood in my living room. Tommy put a hand on my shoulder. "You okay, Sergeant?" "I don't know," I said honestly. Marcus started packing up his documents. "I'll file emergency motions to freeze all your accounts and cancel that insurance policy. I'll also file a restraining order against both of them, and I'll make sure that guardianship petition is dismissed immediately." "Thank you." Raymond looked at Brandon, who was still crying in the corner. "You, help me pack your stuff. You've got 2 hours." "I don't have anywhere to go," Brandon whispered. "Not my problem," Raymond said. I watched my son pack his belongings. The unit helped him, loading boxes into his truck with military efficiency. They didn't speak to him, didn't look at him. He was being dismissed without ceremony. When his truck was loaded, Brandon came to me. His eyes were red and swollen. "Dad, I'm so sorry." I looked at him. My son, the boy I'd raised, the man I didn't recognize anymore. "I know," I said. I couldn't say more than that. He left, drove away. I watched his truck disappear down the street. The unit stayed. They changed the locks. All of them. Front door, back door, garage. Marcus made calls to the bank, the insurance company, the court. Raymond swept the house for anything else that might be hidden. Tommy made coffee in my kitchen, using Martha's old coffee maker. We sat around my kitchen table, just like old times. Except Martha wasn't here, and Brandon was gone, and everything was broken in ways I didn't know how to fix. "You did good, calling us," Tommy said. "I almost didn't," I admitted. "I thought I could handle it myself." "That's not weakness, Steve. That's knowing when you need your unit. That's what we're here for." Marcus looked up from his laptop. "The guardianship hearing on Monday is canceled. I sent all this evidence to the judge. Case dismissed." Relief flooded through me. I put my head in my hands. "It's over," I said. "Not quite," Marcus replied. "There's still the trial, the investigation. This is going to take time, but at least I was free. At least my house was mine again. At least I was safe." The unit stayed until evening. We ordered pizza, sat around like we used to do after missions. They told stories, made jokes, tried to make things feel normal, but nothing felt normal. My son was gone. My daughter-in-law was in jail. My family was destroyed. When they finally left, promising to check on me tomorrow, I sat alone in my living room. The house was quiet, too quiet. I'd won the battle, but I didn't feel like celebrating. I felt like I'd lost something I could never get back. The weekend passed in a blur. Tommy and Marcus stayed close, checking on me every few hours. The unit took turns stopping by, bringing food, making sure I was okay, making sure I wasn't alone. Sunday afternoon, the detective came back. Detective Sarah Walsh. She sat at my kitchen table with a notepad. "Mr. Morrison, I need to go over some things with you. The investigation into Amanda Morrison has expanded. When we searched her phone records, we found some concerning communications." "Like what?" "Messages to her mother discussing the timeline for selling your house. Searches for how long it takes for someone with dementia to become completely dependent. And several visits to websites about medication interactions and overdoses." My stomach turned. "You think she was planning to kill me?" "We're investigating that possibility. The life insurance policy is a strong indicator of intent, combined with everything else." She trailed off. "I'm sorry. I know this is your family." "Was my family," I said quietly. She asked more questions. I answered as best I could. When she left, she promised to keep me updated. Monday morning arrived, the day that would have been the guardianship hearing. Instead, Marcus called to tell me the case was officially dismissed. The judge had reviewed the evidence and found no merit to Amanda's claims. It was over, but it didn't feel over. Brandon called that afternoon. I saw his name on my phone and almost didn't answer, but part of me needed to hear his voice. "Dad?" "Yeah, I'm at Amanda's mom's place. They're saying I should get a lawyer too, that I could be charged as an accessory." "Did you help her, Brandon?" A long pause. "I knew about some of it. The money, the plan to get you, declared incompetent. I went along with it because I was scared of her, because I was weak. But Dad, I swear, I didn't know about the insurance policy. When she mentioned it, I thought she was joking. I didn't think she'd actually do it." "When did she mention it?" Another pause. "A few weeks ago. She said something like, 'Wouldn't it be easier if he just had an accident?' I laughed it off. I thought she was being dramatic. But looking back, his voice broke. Oh God, Dad. What if she was serious? What if I could have stopped this? But you didn't stop it, Brandon. You let it happen. You watched her torment me and you said nothing. I know. I hate myself. I don't know how to make this right." "I don't either," I said, and I hung up. The next few weeks were full of lawyers and statements and court appearances. Amanda was formally charged with elder fraud, identity theft, forgery, and attempted financial exploitation. The DA was also considering charges related to the insurance policy. The investigation was ongoing. Brandon was not charged. The DA said there wasn't enough evidence to prove he knowingly participated in the worst of it, but he was required to pay back the money he'd spent from my accounts. Money he didn't have, so he'd be in debt for years. The unit helped me through it all. Tommy came over every morning for coffee. Marcus handled all the legal paperwork. Raymond helped me set up better security on my house and accounts. The others rotated through, making sure I was eating, sleeping, doing okay. One evening, about a month after everything happened, Tommy and I sat on my back porch. The air was cold. Winter was coming. "How are you really doing?" Tommy asked. "I don't know," I said honestly. "I got my house back, my freedom, my life, but I lost my son. He made his choices. He's still my son. I know." We sat in silence for a while. Then Tommy said, "You know what I think? I think you're one of the strongest men I've ever known. You survived 2 tours. You built this house with your hands. You raised a son alone after Martha got sick. And when someone tried to take everything from you, you fought back. That takes guts." "I didn't fight back," I said. "I called you. That is fighting back. Knowing when you need backup. That's what makes a good soldier. You didn't give up. You didn't roll over. You stood your ground. I guess. No guessing about it. You did good, Steve." I let his words sink in. Maybe he was right. Maybe asking for help wasn't weakness. Maybe it was the smartest thing I'd done. 2 months after Amanda's arrest, she took a plea deal. 3 years in prison. Full restitution of the stolen money. Permanent restraining order. She'd be out eventually, but she'd be far away from me. I felt relief, and grief, and anger, all mixed together. Brandon sent letters. I didn't read them at first, but eventually, curiosity got the better of me. In the letters, he apologized. He explained. He was in therapy, in AA, trying to become a better person. He'd gotten a job in construction, was living in a tiny apartment, trying to pay back the money he owed me. He said he understood if I never forgave him, but he wanted me to know he was trying to be the man I'd raised him to be, before Amanda, before he became weak. I didn't respond to the letters. Not yet. I wasn't ready, but I kept them. One evening in late winter, Tommy brought over some other veterans from the VA. He'd been volunteering there, helping younger vets adjust to civilian life. He thought I might want to help too. We sat around my living room. 5 young men and women, all struggling with the transition from military to regular life. They had questions about jobs, about purpose, about feeling lost. I found myself talking, sharing my experiences, listening to theirs. And somewhere in that conversation, I felt something shift, a sense of purpose I hadn't felt since Martha died. I started volunteering at the VA regularly, once a week, then twice. I met other veterans my age. We shared stories, helped the younger ones, built a community. I also joined a woodworking club at the community center, returned to the hobby I'd loved before everything fell apart, made new friends, learned new techniques, built things with my hands again. One of the club members was a woman named Carol. She was 65, sharp, funny. Her husband had died 3 years ago. She'd been lonely too. We started talking after class, getting coffee, becoming friends. She told me her own story. Her daughter had tried something similar, not as extreme as Amanda, but similar, trying to control her finances, trying to push her into assisted living so the daughter could sell Carol's house and take the money. Carol had fought back, had gotten lawyers involved, had won her independence. We understood each other. The pain of being betrayed by family, the fight to keep our autonomy, the loneliness that made us vulnerable in the first place. We became close, just friends, nothing romantic, but it was nice. Having someone who understood, someone who'd been through similar battles. The unit threw a surprise party for my 69th birthday. They showed up at my house with food and beer and decorations. They'd invited the woodworking club, the VA guys, my neighbors, people I'd reconnected with over the past months. My house was full of people, full of life, full of laughter. For the first time since Martha died, it felt like home again. Late in the party, I got a phone call. Brandon. I stepped outside to answer. "Happy birthday, Dad." "Thanks. I wasn't sure if I should call, but I wanted to. I wanted you to know I'm thinking about you." "Okay. How are you doing?" "I'm good, Brandon. I'm actually really good." That's good. I'm glad." We talked for a few more minutes. Awkward but civil. When we hung up, I didn't feel anger anymore. I felt sadness. but also something like acceptance. Brandon was trying. Maybe someday I'd be ready to let him try to make amends. Maybe not. But either way, I was going to be okay. I went back inside. Tommy handed me a beer. "Everything all right?" "Yeah," I said. "Everything's all right." And it was. Not perfect, not fixed, but all right. Spring came. The snow melted. I planted a garden in the backyard. Tomatoes and peppers and herbs. Martha's favorites. I spent mornings out there, digging in the dirt, feeling the sun on my face. The unit continued to check on me, but less frequently now. They could see I was stable, happy, even. They had their own lives to live. But we kept in touch. Weekly poker games. Monthly unit dinners. We were a family. The kind that doesn't abandon you. Amanda's trial date approached. The prosecutor kept me informed. They had a strong case. She'd likely serve the full 3 years, maybe more depending on what else came out during trial. Brandon continued to send letters. In April, he sent one that was different. He said he was 6 months sober. 6 months in therapy. He'd paid back $12,000 of what he owed me. He was working 2 jobs to do it. He said he didn't expect forgiveness, but he wanted me to know he was trying to become someone I could be proud of again. I read that letter 3 times. Then I put it with the others. In May, something unexpected happened. The prosecutor called, said she needed to meet with me. It was urgent. I met her at her office downtown. She looked tired, stressed. "Mr. Morrison, Amanda Morrison is attempting to make a new claim. She's saying her husband Brandon was the mastermind behind everything, that she was coerced and manipulated by him, that he threatened her, forced her to forge the documents and take out the insurance policy." I stared at her. "That's a lie." "I know. But she's filed official statements, and she's gotten a new lawyer who's pushing this narrative hard. They're trying to reduce her sentence by shifting blame to Brandon. Can they do that? If she's convincing enough, maybe. The problem is, we never charged Brandon. He was cooperative. He paid restitution. We viewed him as a victim of her manipulation. But if she can make the jury believe her story," she spread her hands, "it complicates things. What do I do? Testify, tell the truth, help us show the timeline. You know Brandon. You know he's weak, not malicious. The jury needs to understand that." I drove home feeling sick. Amanda was still fighting, still manipulating. Even from jail, she was trying to destroy what was left of my family. That evening, Brandon called. He'd heard about Amanda's claims. He was panicking. "Dad, she's lying. I swear to God, I never threatened her. I never forced her to do anything. If anything, it was the other way around. I know, she's going to ruin me. Even if they don't charge me, people will believe her. I'll lose my job, my reputation, everything I've been trying to rebuild. Brandon, the truth will come out." "Will it?" "She's really good at lying, Dad. You know that. She convinced everyone I was the problem. What if she convinces the jury?" I didn't have an answer. The trial started in June. It was held in the county courthouse downtown, a big, imposing building that smelled like old wood and stress. I testified on the second day. The prosecutor asked me to describe what happened. I told the story. Everything. The overheard conversations, the fake documentation, the police reports, the life insurance policy. Then Amanda's lawyer cross-examined me. "Mr. Morrison, isn't it true that you have a strained relationship with your son? It's complicated. Complicated enough that you might have a bias, that you might want to protect him by blaming everything on my client?" "No, I'm telling the truth. You testified that your son seemed weak, easily manipulated. Isn't it possible that appearance was an act? That he was actually the one pulling the strings?" "No, I know my son." "Do you? You also testified that you didn't know what he was doing for 3 months while he lived under your roof. Maybe you don't know him as well as you think." It went on like that for an hour. The lawyer twisting my words, planting doubt, making it seem like I was either lying or confused. When I stepped down, I felt exhausted. Brandon testified the next day. He looked terrible, thin, pale, shaking. But he told the truth. He admitted what he'd done, what he'd known about. But he also made it clear Amanda had been the planner, the mastermind. He'd been too scared and too weak to stop her. Amanda's lawyer tore into him too, accused him of being a con artist, a manipulator, someone who preyed on his elderly father and his wife. Brandon broke down on the stand, started crying, couldn't finish his testimony. The judge called a recess. In the hallway, I found Brandon sitting on a bench, his head in his hands. I stood there for a moment, watching him, this broken man who used to be my son. Then I sat down next to him. "Dad," he whispered, "I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I know. She's going to win. She's going to destroy me." "No, she's not. The truth is on our side." "Is it?" I put my hand on his shoulder, the first time I'd touched him in months. "Yeah, Brandon, it is." The trial continued for another week. Expert witnesses, financial analysts, police testimony. Marcus Cooper even testified, presenting all the evidence the unit had gathered. Finally, closing arguments. The prosecutor laid out the case clearly. Amanda was the mastermind. The documents proved it. The timeline proved it. Brandon was guilty of going along with it, but he wasn't the leader. Amanda's lawyer argued the opposite, painted Brandon as a cunning manipulator and Amanda as a victim. The jury deliberated for 2 days. When they came back, the courtroom was packed. Tommy and the unit were there. Carol from woodworking, neighbors, people who'd supported me through this nightmare. The verdict: guilty on all counts. The jury didn't believe Amanda's lies. She was sentenced to 5 years in prison. Not 3, 5. Because the judge said her attempt to shift blame showed no remorse. Brandon was not charged with anything new. He was free. Outside the courthouse, Brandon hugged me. Really hugged me. "Thank you, Dad. Thank you for testifying, for telling the truth." "That's what we do, Brandon. We tell the truth." "I'm going to keep trying. To be better. To earn back your trust." "I know you will." But as I drove home, I realized something. I'd forgiven Brandon for being weak, for going along with Amanda's plans. But I hadn't forgotten, and I wasn't sure I could ever fully trust him again. The damage was done. The relationship was changed, maybe permanently. That evening, Tommy came over. We sat on the porch with beers, watching the sunset. "You did good in there," he said. "Doesn't feel like it. You told the truth. You protected your son when he needed it. That's what fathers do, even when they don't deserve it, especially then." We sat in silence for a while. Then Tommy said, "Steve, I've been thinking. The unit wants to do something for you. A project." "What kind of project?" "Your garage. We want to renovate it. Turn it into a real workshop. A place where you can build things. Create. We've already bought the materials. We just need your permission." I looked at him. This man who'd saved my life more times than I could count. Who'd shown up when I needed him most. Who'd brought the whole unit to my rescue without hesitation. "Yeah," I said. "Yeah, I'd like that." The next weekend, the unit descended on my house. 12 veterans with tools and lumber and a plan. They worked all day Saturday, all day Sunday. They built workbenches and shelving, installed proper lighting, set up a dust collection system, organized my tools. By Sunday evening, my garage was transformed. It looked professional, beautiful, a space where I could build anything. Tommy handed me a handmade sign. It read, "Morrison's Workshop, Est, 2025. For your new chapter," he said. I hung the sign above the door, stood back and looked at it. A new chapter, a new beginning. That night, after everyone left, I went out to the workshop. I pulled out some oak boards I'd been saving, started measuring, cutting, sanding. I was building a table, a new kitchen table to replace the one where so much pain had happened. A table for new memories, better memories. As I worked, I thought about everything that had happened. The betrayal, the fight, the victory, the cost. I'd won my home back, my freedom, my dignity, but I'd lost my family, or at least the family I thought I had. But I'd gained something too. I'd learned I was stronger than I thought. I'd learned I didn't have to fight alone. I'd learned that family isn't always blood. Sometimes Family is the people who show up when you need them. Sometimes, family is a unit of old soldiers who drop everything to help one of their own. Sometimes, family is built, not born. I kept working on the table, building something new, something strong, something that would last, just like I was building a new life. One day at a time. 6 months after the trial, I was sitting in my new workshop when my phone rang. It was Brandon. We'd been talking more often now. Short calls, checking in. He'd paid back almost all the money, was still sober, still in therapy, still trying. Dad, I have some news. Yeah? I met someone. Her name is Jenny. She's different from Amanda. Kind, honest. She knows about everything that happened, about what I did, and she's still willing to give me a chance. That's good, Brandon. I wanted to ask, would you want to meet her? Maybe coffee sometime. No pressure. I know things are still complicated between us. I thought about it. For a long moment, I considered saying no, keeping my distance, protecting myself from future hurt. But then I thought about Tommy's words, about what fathers do, about second chances. Yeah, I said. I'd like to meet her. We met the following Saturday at a diner downtown. Jenny was 32, with brown hair and warm eyes. She shook my hand firmly, looked me in the eye. Mr. Morrison, it's an honor to meet you. Brandon's told me a lot about you. Call me Steve. We talked for 2 hours. She was a social worker, had her own story of overcoming difficult situations. She didn't make excuses for Brandon, but she believed people could change, could grow. Watching them together, I saw something I hadn't seen in Brandon in years. Peace, confidence. He looked healthier, happier, like he was finally becoming the man I'd raised him to be. When we said goodbye in the parking lot, Brandon hugged me again. Thanks for coming, Dad. It means everything. I'm proud of you, I said, and I meant it. As I drove home, I realized I was crying. Not sad tears, relief tears. Maybe we could rebuild, maybe not to what it was before, but to something new, something honest. The following week, Carol invited me to an art show, her daughter's art show, the same daughter who'd tried to control her finances years ago. You reconciled? I asked. We're working on it, Carol said. She's in therapy. She apologized, really apologized. It's slow, it's hard, but I decided life's too short to hold grudges forever. I'm not saying I trust her completely, but I'm willing to let her try. At the art show, I met Carol's daughter, Sarah. She was nervous, apologetic. She thanked her mother for coming, for giving her another chance. I watched them together and saw what might be possible for Brandon and me. Not forgetting, but forgiving. Not ignoring the past, but not letting it destroy the future. That summer, the unit helped me build more furniture. We made chairs to go with my new kitchen table, a bench for the back porch, a bookshelf for the living room. Each piece was crafted with care, with attention, with love. One evening in July, I invited everyone over for dinner. The unit, Carol, Brandon and Jenny, my neighbors, the VA guys, everyone who'd become part of my new life. We sat around my new table. 20 people crowded in my dining room and kitchen, laughing, talking, sharing food and stories. Tommy raised his glass. To Steve Morrison, a man who faced his darkest moment and came out stronger. A man who knows the value of a good unit. A man who never surrendered. Everyone raised their glasses. To Steve, I looked around the table, at these faces, these people who'd shown up, who'd fought for me, who'd helped me rebuild. I want to say something, I said. Everyone quieted down. 2 years ago, I lost my wife. I was lonely, grieving. I made myself vulnerable. I let people in who didn't have my best interests at heart. I almost lost everything. Brandon looked down at his plate. But I learned something. I learned that asking for help isn't weakness. I learned that family isn't just about blood. I learned that sometimes you have to fight for what's yours. And most importantly, I learned that I'm never really alone, because I have all of you. I raised my glass. To the unit, to family, to second chances, to building something new. To building something new, everyone echoed. We ate and drank and celebrated into the night. When everyone finally left, I stood on my porch with Tommy, just like we'd done so many times before. "You did good, Steve," he said. "We did good," I corrected. "I couldn't have done any of this without you. Without all of you. That's what we're here for. Once a soldier, always a soldier. We don't leave our people behind." After Tommy left, I walked through my house. This house I'd built with my own hands 33 years ago. This house I'd nearly lost. This house I'd fought to keep. It was mine again. Really mine. Not just legally, but emotionally. I'd reclaimed it, filled it with new memories. Good memories. I went to my workshop and looked at the projects I was working on. A toy chest for a veteran's new baby. A picture frame for Carol. A small box for Brandon and Jenny's engagement. They'd gotten engaged last month. I was genuinely happy for them. I thought about Martha. What she'd say about all this. She'd probably tell me I was too stubborn for my own good. That I should have called Tommy sooner. That I needed to stop trying to handle everything alone. She'd be right, but she'd also be proud. Proud that I stood up for myself. Proud that I didn't give up. Proud that I built a new life after she was gone. I pulled out a piece of walnut wood, started sketching a design. A memorial box for Martha's quilts. The ones Amanda had donated. I tracked them down at Goodwill. Bought them back. They were cleaned and stored now, waiting for this box. As I worked, I thought about everything I'd learned. I'd learned that loneliness makes you vulnerable. But isolation isn't the answer. Connection is. The right kind of connection. With people who genuinely care. I'd learned that family isn't always blood. Sometimes the people who show up for you, who fight for you, who refuse to abandon you, are the real family. Blood just means you're related. But loyalty, that's what makes you family. I'd learned that trust must be earned. That boundaries are necessary. That protecting yourself isn't selfish. It's survival. I'd learned that asking for help is one of the bravest things you can do. That admitting you can't fight alone doesn't make you weak. It makes you smart. I'd learned that people can change. That second chances are worth giving, carefully, with eyes wide open. That forgiveness doesn't mean forgetting. It means choosing not to let the past poison your future. Most importantly, I'd learned that I was stronger than I knew. That 30 years in the military taught me more than just how to follow orders. It taught me resilience, strategy, how to call in backup when needed, how to hold your ground, how to win. They thought I was just a senile old man they could push aside. Amanda, even Brandon, for a while. They forgot that before I was a father, before I was a widower, before I was a homeowner, I was a soldier. And soldiers never surrender their ground. Not without a fight. And when we fight to win. I finished the sketch and set it aside. Tomorrow I'd start building. Tonight, I'd rest. I walked back into my house. Locked the doors, checked the windows, made sure everything was secure. Old habits from the military, good habits. I poured myself a glass of water and sat at my new kitchen table, the one I'd built with my own hands. Strong, solid, made to last, just like me. I was 69 years old. I'd survived 2 wars, 30 years in the military, the loss of my wife, and the betrayal of my family. I'd fought my way back from the edge. I'd reclaimed my life, and I wasn't done living yet. Not by a long shot. I had projects to build, friends to see, a son to help rebuild a relationship with, maybe even a relationship with Carol to explore, when we were both ready. I had poker games every Thursday, VA volunteer work every Tuesday, woodworking club on Saturdays. A full life, a good life, a life I'd fought for and won. I turned off the lights and headed to bed. To my bed, in my bedroom, the master bedroom, where I belonged. As I drifted off to sleep, I smiled. Tomorrow was a new day, another chance to build, to create, to live, and I was ready for it. Before I close, let me ask you something. Have you ever had to stand up to someone you loved? Someone who was taking advantage of you? How did you handle it? Did you ask for help? Or did you try to fight alone? I'd love to hear your stories in the comments below. If this story resonated with you, if it reminded you that you're stronger than you think, or if it made you think about the importance of having people in your corner, please hit that like button. It helps more people find these stories. And if you're not already subscribed, please subscribe to the channel. I share stories like this every week. Stories about real people facing real challenges and finding their way through. Stories about courage, resilience, and the strength we all have inside us. Share this story with someone who needs to hear it. Someone who's going through a tough time. Someone who needs to be reminded that asking for help is brave, not weak. That they're not alone. That they can fight back and win. Thank you for listening to my story. Thank you for being here. I hope it gave you something to think about, something to feel, maybe even something to act on. Remember, you're never too old to stand up for yourself. You're never too old to ask for help. And you're never too old to start building something new. Take care of yourselves. Take care of each other. And never surrender your ground. Until next time.